Following last year's Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, the teams prepared themselves for the usual post-season Abu Dhabi tyre test, and in the seat for Scuderia Ferrari was the reigning world champion aarava. This sparked much speculation in the paddock that the Brit's future was all but confirmed at Maranello for next season. The youngster was technically a part of the Ferrari junior program when he entered F1 2 years ago in the Haas with Ferrari's backing, but shortly after the tyre test, sources confirmed Arriva Bene and Ferrari were not fully 100% confident the youngster was ready for the big seat at the top. Talks began reportedly at the Brazilian Grand Prix that now aarava will sign an agreement with Ferrari to remain a Ferrari contracted driver, but that he will be allowed to go on loan to a team of his choice for a year. A conditional clause has also been put into place that states if Ferrari do not win the Constructors' title in Season 3, aarava must be awarded a seat in the red car for Season 4. As for aarava's loan team destination, well, talks had already begun about that at the Mexican Grand Prix, with Zak Brown and McLaren already sniffing around at the potential of signing aarava, a much more consistent candidate than Stoffel Vandoorne. The gulf between Alonso and Vandoorne's point tally at the end of the season, coupled with a rather well-timed impressive performance overtaking manoeuvre to seal the Drivers' Championship in style with a win against Fernando Alonso at the Mexican Grand Prix, meant Zak Brown was very eager to nab aarava, even if it was only for a season. Negotiations commenced over the winter then and were successful, and McLaren will debut their new lineup of Fernando Alonso and aarava for Season 3 of the F1 2018 career mode, with the team hoping to win more races and hopefully give a more pressurised challenge to the usual top suspects. So without further ado, roll on Season 3 and the Australian Grand Prix weekend. What's up guys, aarava here, and welcome then to the start of Season 3 of my F1 2018 career mode here today with McLaren Renault partnering Fernando Alonso for one season at least, and it is going to be a very, very exciting season. We come into this one, obviously Alonso got a couple of wins last season. That McLaren car was very up and down, a few races it was absolutely on steroids at the first half of the season, not so much last year, so we'll have to see how it goes, but very exciting times, as going into this season there was a good reason McLaren did not upgrade since USA of last year, and that was because they were saving R&D points, and the AI team on their own accord have purchased 7 upgrades here, 3 of them being reliability updates and durability stuff, but there are 2 chassis updates and 2 engine updates, so at least 4 performance gaining updates here, and I'm very, very excited to see where we are. But I mean, to be partnering Fernando Alonso alone, we know how good his AI is in this game. It's going to be a real challenge, I think, but here we go then. Looking at the performance chart then, heading into Season 3, coming off the back of Season 2, Haas remain the best car on the grid, ahead of Red Bull and Ferrari, who have both improved way more than Haas have. Haas only minor improvements there into Season 3. You can see McLaren there, they were set to be lower than Renault, but with the 7 upgrades they bought then, from the end of Season 2, you saw they didn't spend much since USA, and it's meant that they've caught up and they're now level pegging with Renault and Force India on the performance chart there. You can see on the right hand side, they're literally on the same line. You can't even see Force India now on this zoomed in shot because the Force India pink line is just under the yellow line of Renault, and you can see the gulf then all 3 of us have to Mercedes, who are pretty much falling away down to a bottom 4 group of Sauber, Williams and Toro Rosso if Mercedes are not careful. And so really exciting times of all 3 of our teams, Renault, Force India and McLaren here, trying to chase after that quote-unquote top pack of Red Bull, Ferrari and Haas. But it's going to be really interesting to see how Haas fare with now Magnussen and Grosjean in the car. Obviously, I am not there anymore to be the consistent rock for them, but to be fair, Magnussen did get 2nd place in the Drivers' Championship last year. If I was not there, Magnussen would have won the title, so you can't really deny that that team on its own accord was good enough to win the title anyway, so it's going to be very, very intriguing. But back to us then, and trying to dissect what McLaren have done as an AI team, always really intriguing to see what the AI do when left to their own devices. A major fuel efficiency update and a minor engine power upgrade there coming into this season. You can see McLaren have actually got 3 quality control upgrades there on the actual tree, which means they have less chance of a failure of engine upgrades basically. So they focused on quality and not having parts fail when they actually purchase them. So that's going to be good for us, meaning, you know, we have a much lesser chance of having failures there because they've spent 3 points on quality control. You can see they've not done much on aero actually, surprisingly. They're actually behind Haas on the aero thing, and they're actually the 5th worst team, or just in the middle pretty much, with us and Haas, my old team there, aero-wise. So a lot of upgrades to do on drag reduction there. We've also got front and rear downforce to do in terms of major and ultimate upgrades as well, but you can see 2 apiece for quality control and efficiency. So the upgrades can come faster for cheaper, obviously, and the quality also is going to be better and less chance of failure. And on the chassis side, McLaren have done quite a fair bit, ultimate, major tyre wear upgrades, I should say, and major weight reduction. You can see there they're the 4th best chassis on the grid, and they also have 2 quality updates on the chassis side and 1 efficiency upgrade. So McLaren have done a lot of long-term investing in efficiencies and quality control of their basically the entire car and the entire kind of HQ basically. And you can see on the durability side of things, they've actually also done 2 upgrades that I probably would have liked them to do, which was the gearbox and then general wear, and then also 1 on MGU-H, control electronics, and the turbocharger. So in terms of wear for this season, I don't have to worry about them having gearbox issues. Obviously we had gearbox issues with Haas in season 1 and season 2, and both times we had to try and rectify that with upgrades to the durability. Well, McLaren have already done 2 gearbox updates, so looking really good on that side of things. And overall, obviously, it means that we're level pegging then with Renault and Force India. We are now kind of technically the 4th best engine on the grid, just about ahead of Ferrari. Aero-wise, we're lacking, with the 5th worst, just behind Haas, and then chassis-wise, we're the 4th best, but Haas really ruled that department. Obviously, a bit of a legacy from what I did there, but generally speaking, not too bad in each department. I think we're going to need to work on the chassis and the aero side. The engine, it seems like they've done some good work there, but we could also continue to do that as well. But I think all 3 are going to need some kind of equal attention almost, in a way. There's not one area where I feel like they're really lacking. It's more of a kind of bringing the entire 3 departments together to really make a good cohesive car. It's going to be really interesting to see how the car differs. Going into practice, there was a little bit of a different feeling to the McLaren, of course. I felt like the McLaren was a lot heavier than the Haas, definitely. I could tell that the Haas had such a good chassis and such a lightweight chassis, because the McLaren car definitely felt a little bulky in some of the low-speed corners. But you could also tell in the high-speed corners, it had that downforce there and that general just good engine power also out of the traction zone. So different kind of areas where I need to tweak it, maybe in the setup, or just focus on with upgrades. But that's the really interesting thing about finally changing a team now after 2 seasons. It's going to be really interesting. But, without further ado, let's get into it then. Let's get into qualifying and see what we can do driving this car in some kind of anger.
Welcome to Melbourne, where qualifying for the Australian Grand Prix should be getting underway shortly. This is the kind of track that eats rear tyres for breakfast, or so I'm told by more experienced drivers than myself.
No matter how good a driver is at managing their throttle application to limit rear slip, they can't always overcome a car that's inherently bad at looking after its rear tyres. Here we have a lot of low-speed corner exits, which means a whole load of energy, heat and tyre wear.
Right, so here we are then in our brand new orange papaya McLaren Renault, and a brand new spanking helmet on the top there. A bit of red to go nicely with the orange. Nice complement there, I feel. And here we are then in Q1. Very overcast conditions here at Melbourne, so there's always a threat of rain here when it looks like that around the scenery with the clouds there. But at the moment it's going to be all dry, and we'll see how it goes. And we're just trying to, like I said, drive the first time this car with any kind of anger and see what it can really do. Trying to push it to the limits a little bit here and there. I can definitely feel the engine power difference in terms of it does feel like it has some good grunt there, which is not a thing that usually you say about McLaren in the past few years, I'll admit. But in the game at least, McLaren 4th best power unit on the grid. We're ahead of Ferrari, the works Ferrari team. So, we've got some decent power behind us. Really just about maybe harnessing that in terms of upgrading the aero and the chassis. But we do get through into Q2 then by the skin of our teeth. But that's nothing new. We did that on Haas as well, so I'm not too worried about that. But you can clearly see Magnussen and Grosjean top of the leaderboard there in Q1, 1 and 2. So definitely Haas have retained the speed that I gave them in seasons 1 and 2. So, they're still going to be there basically. And it's going to be really interesting to see how the other AI teams, Ferrari, Red Bull, even Renault and Force India kind of react to them, as well as us, obviously. So here we are in Q2 then. Bit of a mistake in that Sector 1 you saw with a big lockup into the hairpin there, and then generally just not a great tidy lap, losing a bit of momentum I felt through this entire last sector as well, and so definitely not happy with this first final lap then on these ultra soft tyres. You're going to have to try and burn a second set to get into the top 10. You can see there I'm already out of the top 10 in P11. Alonso's in it for now, and so I have to go out anyway. I couldn't even stay out and kind of risk it for a chocolate biscuit, and then by the time we fast forward through, Alonso is also outside the top 10. So even though this McLaren car seemed like it was on steroids at some points in the season last year, it seems like maybe those were just very, very funny races where the McLaren seemingly really got to the circuit and just like really gelled well with it, I guess, and Alonso's AI really performed well, because this car is very much still not there at the peak it needs to be to win consistent races after races. And you can see on my second final lap then, I have a DRS failure. That was the little heads-up display, the red rear wing. I have a DRS failure on this second lap. So not only do I have to try and gain time here on this second flyer compared to my pretty poor first lap, I had DRS failure, so I had no DRS then for those two zones around the lap, but still I gain a decent amount of time on the top right. Will it be enough to get into the top 10 though? Let's see, across the line, and no it won't. It will be P13 sorry, on the grid behind Carlos Sainz and just ahead of Valtteri Bottas. Fernando Alonso does also not make it in. He's in P12 and I eventually finish up in P14 there. So it is not a great first day in the office in the McLaren car, but the only solace for me is Alonso also got knocked out. So clearly it's just the car that needs some work, and you know, maybe it was a bit of false sense of security of thinking the McLaren car was going to be so good. I'm betting that a lot of you guys thought that, oh, the McLaren's going to be so easy for me to just hop in and, you know, win races or get podiums. At the moment it looks like we have a lot of work to do, because technically that is worse than when I got into the Haas in season 1. In season 1 of Haas, I was at least able to get into Q3 along with my teammate, or I think I just missed out by like one whisker, but basically we were a Q3 team straight off the bat in season 1. Not the case here at McLaren, so we've got some serious work to do, and obviously I'm only here for maybe 1 year, but nonetheless I will be trying my best to get this car up to scratch. And you know, there were points last season where the car was absolutely on rails for Fernando Alonso, and I would love to try and drive a car that was like that at the Singapore Grand Prix in season 2, so we'll carry on working on. Before we go into the race, we've got an interview with Claire then to kind of just talk us through our new team quickly.
How are you finding things at your new team? Are you settling in?
So I want to be really positive here, but also honest, and to be fair, you know, the car is a breath of fresh air, to be honest. Very, very different to the Haas, so I'm really liking that, so that's going to be a rep increase for them.
You left some body work out there on the track. Were you struggling for grip?
And then straight away here with some questions about bodywork left on track. I'm just going to go with a no comment there, keep it all positive then into this race.
Well, thanks anyway.
So with those questions over from Claire then, nothing else to do but then go to the race. Both of us out of Q2 then, we can start on any compound attire we want. So I think both me and Fernando can do some great work in the race, and let's keep spirits up and keep it positive going to this first race.
New drivers, new cars, and a new Formula One season. But it's the same Albert Park that we've come to know and love for more than 2 decades now that hosts the first round of a 21-race championship, taking us from here in Melbourne, Australia, across the globe before we eventually reach the season finale at Yas Marina Circuit in Abu Dhabi. Just south of Melbourne's downtown business centre is the one and only Albert Park Circuit. 3.3 miles of public roads, closed for the weekend of course, make for a bumpy circuit with little undulation. There are 16 corners around the lake and a couple of good passing opportunities here as well, thanks in part to the DRS zones into turns 1, 3 and 13. Well then, after an exciting qualifying session yesterday, let's take a look at how the cars line up. Good job yesterday from Valtteri Bottas. The Finn starts from pole position, with Sebastian Vettel starting alongside. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Raikkonen, Ricciardo, Max Verstappen and Perez, Magnussen, Ocon, Grosjean and Charles Leclerc, Alonso, Sainz, the engineer, and Hamilton, Hülkenberg. They'll be starting further back after an earlier grid penalty. Stroll, Marcus Ericsson and Pierre Gasly, Hartley and Sergei Sirotkin rounds off the grid. Now it's almost time to lights out, so let's go down to the track.
So we get elevated to P13 on the grid because there's already one penalty then for Nico Hülkenberg in the Works Renault team. So we line up right behind Fernando Alonso then. And like I said, both of us have a free choice of tyre. So it's going to be a one stop for us then, super soft to the soft tyre. And all the people in the top 10 will have to start on the ultra soft. So they're going to probably have to go to a two stop maybe. Some of them might be able to stretch to a one stop if they have a good enough tyre wear. But we have a good chance to jump some people in this race. So like I said just before the intro, let's keep it all positive there, look forward and just enjoy this very first race here at McLaren. As we go now to 5 red lights at a very gloomy Australian Grand Prix to kick off season 3 of the F1 2018 career mode. 5 lights are out and we're underway, and it's a very shaky start compared to Carlos Sainz there, who's like a rocket ship, as well as Fernando Alonso on the left hand side. Into turn 1 we go down the inside of this Spaniard in the Renault. Leclerc making it into the top 10, I think he did, and now he's side by side with my teammate there as we're going to bump it up into Rich Mix and try and shake off Carlos Sainz. But the Renault Works team, very, very good. I believe they have the second best engine on the grid, the Renault Works team, so they're going to be quite difficult to actually get rid of in a straight line. Maybe in the corners not so much, but in a straight line they're going to be a challenge for us maybe, as now we see Alonso still fighting Leclerc. He's made it through on the left. Can we follow Alonso through maybe on the left hand side? Bit of contact there with Leclerc's wheel. We just managed to dance around the outside there, and we ride this curve on the left hand side like a skateboard indeed, and we're getting around the outside. Leclerc still putting up a good fight there in that much improved Sauber over the 2 seasons we've done, but we are eventually going to get it up into P11 and Alonso up into P10, so already a good getaway then from both us cars, and hopefully we can get some better race pace. But at the moment in the lead of the Grand Prix, I believe it looks like it's Sebastian Vettel then. It's a 1-2 for Ferrari on the minimap if you can see, and then it's I think Daniel Ricciardo, Valtteri Bottas, Verstappen, and then a checkerboard of the Force India and Haas cars just ahead of Alonso then. So it seems like that same unfortunate glitch has happened where if you get knocked out in Q2, Q3 is not ran at the same performance as the actual cars are right now. It goes back to the default as if there's been no upgrades at all. So the Haas cars, you know, they were 1-2 for Q1 and Q2, and yet in Q3 they only qualified down in like P7, P8. It's a bit of a very annoying glitch actually, because it kind of really hinders the Haas cars and any cars really in the top 10 if I don't get into the top 10 myself. So that's really, really unfortunate, but it means at the moment the 2 Ferraris are leading the way then, and there's confirmation then I was correct then. It's Ricciardo in third, Bottas there behind, and then Verstappen, and then the Force India and Haas just ahead of Alonso then. We've got yellow flags though, and a virtual safety car now is out in this race, and I think that's because of a retirement behind us of Charles Leclerc. It looks like there, that is pulled up because he was behind us. He's no longer. It's now Carlos Sainz, and there we go, confirmation, Charles Leclerc out of this Grand Prix. So unfortunate for him, but now we calm things down. We can save some fuel and save some ERS. Although, to be fair, what I find out later in this race is that the fuel efficiency of this McLaren engine now is very good. Like you saw on the R&D there, they've done a lot of development there, and so pretty much it means if I fill up on fuel about 2 and a bit laps, I can run rich mix the entire race basically because of the fuel efficiency of this engine now at McLaren. So I'm going to have a lot of fun with that. But we saw a replay then of Leclerc retiring, and here's a replay of pole man Valtteri Bottas. Only reason he's on pole, remember, is because of that unfortunate glitch, and you can clearly see the lack of speed of the Mercedes car off the 5 red lights. He locks up as well, and then straight away it's a 1-2 for Ferrari. Ricciardo gets straight in there, so literally a complete bottle job from Bottas from pole position down to already 4th place. Verstappen right there, maybe trying to look at him, and then behind is the Force India and Haas cars battling away. I think 2 of them are side by side right now, perhaps maybe I think Grosjean and the other Force India. There's Perez ahead, and there's Magnussen side by side with Ocon then, and Grosjean is then left, must be right behind there. But yeah, clearly you can see from that replay camera, very unfortunate kind of thing that happens with Q3. I can't really do too much about it, but trying to do my best for the rest of the season to get into Q3 so that I don't hinder my own past team too much, because you saw it, like I said, in Q1, Q2, they're right there on the pace, very much so. So yeah, I really can't do much about that. Hopefully it does get patched very, very soon. I feel like I probably need to try and maybe tweak Codemasters and see if they can look into it, because I think also some of you guys were saying it was a thing in last year's game as well maybe. But anyway, I digress. Let's go into the rest of this race then. And so Grosjean now is attacking Ocon, the man who's taken my old car then in the Haas team. He tries to overtake Ocon, not quite yet, and obviously still, it looks like from Season 2, the Force India's retained its good straight line speed there, because as much as Grosjean is trying there on the outside of the high-speed chicane. Ocon has just got the straight line speed there, and you can see me and Fernando are just stuck there behind, looking at this with a bucket of popcorn, and we're unable to do anything right now as Grosjean again attempts to move on the outside, but Ocon is doing a really good job at defending right now and is going to keep that position and squeeze them out as we enter Sector 3. And you can see how close now and how much time we're losing, because also the two Works Renaults are also now closing up to us. So this is a nightmare situation right now for not only just me, but also Alonso here. Both of us are categorically getting held up way too much right now by Grosjean and Ocon fighting. They do not have the race pace at the moment to contend with us, and so, but we can't get past with dirty air, of course. But now onto the next lap, maybe we get even closer here, but I regret to say probably the same thing here as we enter the next right-hander, and you're going to see until the second last corner, they're going to gain so much time here, and we're literally met with a roadblock here. I just can't do anything on the traction zone of the last corner. Alonso gets away from me a little bit, even with DRS, and at the moment we're just sitting, we're just waiting here patiently, waiting for something to happen. Maybe someone makes a mistake or something like that, I don't know. We're kind of praying for that, but I'm not holding my breath for it, to be honest, but we'll see again on lap 6, right up the back of Alonso. Then Grosjean again, maybe trying to size up a move on Ocon. We have DRS once more to open, to try and get away from Carlos Sainz as well, and Sainz actually making a move, but there goes Grosjean. He's slow, yellow flags, and so Grosjean has an issue, and so maybe that's why also he couldn't get past Ocon. He's maybe dealing with some issues, and Grosjean now clearly, well, maybe out of this Grand Prix, but at least very, very slow, and very good timing for me, to be honest, because Sainz there, you saw, look behind me, and Sainz was about to make a move on me on the outside, so actually a blessing in disguise that Grosjean retired, I guess, just there and then. And now look at that, Alonso down the inside to make a move on Ocon finally, and Ocon's made a mistake. He's locked up and he's behind us now, and so Alonso, I don't know if he meant it, but there's teamwork there, and he's helped me out because he pressurized Ocon into a mistake, and so I overtook him as well. So good relationship right now with my new teammate here. We're both up in tandem, up 2 positions now in this race in the span of 2 laps there on towards lap number 8. So good stuff there, but now I'm going to try and overtake my said teammate and try and get the position, because I feel like at the moment I'm faster than Alonso. He's going a little bit slow. We've gone wide, but it's allowed us to cut on inside line a lot better and just about make the move there. Alonso lifted off a little bit to give us the room. No contact made. Good respect between teammates, and that's what I love to see. Obviously got a little bit frosty here and there with Alonso last season when I was in the Haas, but now that we're in the same car, I feel like for now we have a decent amount of respect for one another, and we're not going to make contact with one another. So on lap number 9 then, we're closing up to Valtteri Bottas, who's just falling away in this Grand Prix. He's going to come in for his first pit stop. Of course, he's an ultra soft tyre, so me and Alonso will continue on our super softs, and to be honest, I think at some point me and Alonso will probably lead the Grand Prix 1 and 2, because I think we're the highest super soft runners in this race so far. But saying that though, it looks like a few cars here in this race are attempting to go long on their ultra soft tyres to make the one stop work. So eventually then on lap 10 will come in 1 lap earlier, looks like, or maybe 2 laps earlier than Alonso. We'll have to see on the default strategy. We're going to come in for our soft tyres then, but like I said, I think there are a few cars out there trying the one stop from going ultra to soft tyre, because if they in theory have upgraded their tyre wear enough on the chassis side of the R&D tree, they could definitely try a one stop from ultra to soft tyre. It's not out of the question. Here at our team, even though McLaren ironically did upgrade their tyre wear into Season 3, I feel like this was the only way we could do this race as a one stop. So I feel like it is kind of almost a good thing we didn't get into Q3 in a way. I know that sounds very, very strange to say, but a lot of the time it kind of works out like that, because also now these guys have to contend with traffic there. Once again, those slow as hell turtle Williams cars holding up the pack there of Sebastian Vettel and also Magnussen. You can see Magnussen's got ahead of Raikkonen then, so it's Vettel, Magnussen, Raikkonen on the road, and then behind them is the Red Bull and then Force India, and we are trying to catch up as best we can. You can see they're sparking away, but up ahead is the Force India, Red Bull, Ferrari, and then the other Ferrari trying to go side by side now with the Williams. He's got it. Vettel, to be fair, great move there on the Williams. Magnussen straight away also with a move down the inside of that Williams car, trying to waste no time at all, but look at that, a whole gaggle of cars now as Raikkonen tried to overtake Magnussen and Williams at the same time, but Raikkonen's got the Williams car, and now the Williams can hold up the Red Bull, both Red Bulls indeed, of Verstappen and Ricciardo, and also Sergio Perez, to the point where now, look at this, I am right up the back, and I am part of this train now. So can we try and do some overtaking here and really get in the midst of it? This is literally for good points paying positions if we can overtake Perez or the 2 Red Bull cars. And meanwhile, Alonso has continued on for 1 more lap even, so he's going for 2 laps of an overcut on me and all these guys. Let's see how it works out. To be fair, it might have been an inspired choice because there's so much traffic here that Alonso running in clean air might get the jump on not only me but some of these guys. So let's watch out for that. But Perez now side by side with Verstappen. We're going to go down the inside of them and make it 3 wide. Perez nearly squeezes me into the wall, and we managed to duck out that, brake early, and then go down the inside of both of them for the nice switchback move effectively on the racing line to get a double overtake made on Verstappen and Perez. But that was so close. I saw my life flashing before my eyes there because Perez could have completely punted me into the left-hand side wall. And meanwhile, look at that. You love to see it. It's a Haas Ferrari battling the Works Ferrari team, and now you can see away from the qualifying glitch in race conditions when they actually do have the pace they're meant to have. You know, they're the best car on the grid, full stop, no questions about it. And you can see there Magnussen does have the pace to slum it with the Ferrari cars and overtake them as well. But the crucial thing is, I think Magnussen there is on super soft tyres, and I think he's doing a 2-stop, whereas the Ferraris are on soft tyres. So Ferrari's trying a 1-stop, Magnussen and the Haas, I guess, trying a 2-stop, so that might hinder them this race. And now, speaking of Fernando Alonso, here he is, and he is going to come out ahead of me and also Verstappen and Sergio Perez. So Alonso has made a 3-man overtake in a pit strategy and an overcut of dreams. It's the same old Fernando Alonso you've seen from the real-life races. Obviously, he did a great strategy at the real-life Singapore Grand Prix in 2018, just gone by, and here again in the game, he's done another inspired strategy here to get ahead of us. We tried to overtake him there, but he squeezed us out and just had us for chips there into the hairpin, so fair play to him. And right now, he's doing a fabulous job and showing maybe who's got the pants in this kind of team for now. I need to try and earn my respect of trying to beat him regularly. At the moment, he's doing a great job, but at the moment, to be fair, P5, P6, Zach Brown's going to be very happy that I'm sticking with Alonso here compared to what Van Dorn probably would have been in this car. But now we've got some issues because Verstappen is coming very quickly down the inside with DRS, and he's going to have it into turn 1 and make it a bit of an easy overtake though, because my thinking was maybe, okay, Verstappen is the fastest car, so let's see if maybe I can tag onto the DRS of Verstappen here and let him pull me along, and we'll see if we can get up the order and maybe then overtake Alonso whilst Verstappen tries to overtake him. Maybe we can try and catch both of them napping and get both of them in a bit of a Wily or Fox move almost. But at the moment, the real fight then is with Magnussen, the Ferraris, but Magnussen is coming in then for the second stop here. So it's really going to be then a 1-2 for Ferrari once again with that Red Bull. Ricciardo in third place, Magnussen's in, and that's going to be a really poor strategy actually from Haas really, because they're going to fall behind us and also Verstappen there. Meanwhile, Ricciardo down the inside there of turn 1, and he gets Raikkonen into turn 1. It's an inspired move there by the Honey Badger, and he's up into P2 then and spoils the 1-2 Ferrari party. And meanwhile, look at that, with that fighting, Alonso now has closed in a couple laps after I let Verstappen through. Alonso's actually going after Raikkonen, and Verstappen's nowhere near catching Alonso. I'm still there keeping pressure on Verstappen, and so I've been bamboozled here. I thought about letting Verstappen through to let him catch Alonso for me, but he's not even got the pace to do that. So now on lap 20, I'm thinking about trying to re-overtake Verstappen and then trying to gain back on Alonso myself, because Alonso's just picked up this magical pace out of nowhere and is now on the back of Raikkonen and Ricciardo maybe. So we're starting to see some glimpses then of that old Fernando Alonso from the end of season 2 really, in a way, as we now shape up a move on Verstappen. Very tidy, fast chicane, DRS open, rich mix going, and also ERS on overtake mode. Here we come flying down the inside, big dive down the inside there, but no contact to be made with Verstappen, and he just doesn't have the guts to keep his foot in there, and we get that position there and just kind of called his bluff of, okay, are you gonna keep your foot in? And he didn't, and we're up into P5 then once again. And actually, I say P5 again, it's P5 of course now, because Magnussen has already been out pits. It was P6, it's now elevated us, so a really poor, again, just reiterating, a very poor strategy then from Haas, as now Verstappen comes back at us into turn 1. We do some defensive work into the apex there, and we're going to keep him at bay for now. As we move on then later into the Grand Prix, it's going to be Alonso all over the back then of Raikkonen in a very surprising turn of the events. I did not think he was going to have this kind of pace here, but he has, and here he comes now on Raikkonen round the outside then. DRS also there for Alonso, and against his old Ferrari teammate, he's going to do it on the outside. The next right-hander swoops round, and he's got it, and he's into a podium position right now. And so I think I have my work cut out for me. I thought Magnussen was a tough teammate. I do not know the definition of a tough teammate going up against Alonso here. He's going to be even tougher to beat than Magnussen was probably, and I'm going to take a few races maybe to get used to this car and actually go up against him properly. But Raikkonen tries his best, to be fair, down the inside. A little bit of contact was made there, and Raikkonen trying his best to get back into P3, but Alonso equally trying his best to keep it as much as he can. But here goes Raikkonen, to be fair. He's got a good run on the outside, turns to the inside for the next corner, so Raikkonen might have this, you know, as Alonso's still there, though. On the inside, he'll just about keep it looks like there, and he'll just about stay in P3 for now. Raikkonen P4, and that will help out Ricciardo in P2 to get away. But here comes the Iceman once again, trying to go around the outside of Alonso. There's a lock up there. Alonso's made a mistake. Very uncharacteristic there, and Alonso locks up badly on the front left, just like Ocon did earlier when he tried to overtake the Frenchman. So maybe a bit of karma there for Alonso with the same kind of lock up there in that same corner, and so he's down to P4 and will maybe have to accept that P4. That's still going to be a brilliant position considering he was also not in Q3. For both of us, P4 and P5 is a very good race result from what was P12 or P11 and P13 on the grid once Hockenheim got the grid penalty, obviously. But to say where we qualified, actually on paper, very, very good result there. But it's going to be Sebastian Vettel then that wins the Australian Grand Prix from Daniel Ricciardo to Kimi Raikkonen. So quite ironic in the season where I've given Ferrari a clause in the contract that if they don't win the Constructors, I have to get a seat there in Season 4. Well, at the moment, they're doing a good job to make a headway on that Constructors' Championship with a 1-3 there. But we're going to go home in a really good P5. It's a good first race here at McLaren.
Nice work, you did well today. I think the boss will be happy with that one.
So, another excellent win from Ferrari. And Anthony Davidson, give me your thoughts. How did they accomplish this result?
Well, you know what they say, to finish first you have to finish. And that fact was clear today, with lots of retirements having a big effect on the outcome of the race. As a driver, you tend to keep reliability concerns to the back of your mind and just focus on what's in front of you. But for the teams, races like this can be very stressful.
So, here they come now, out onto the podium. Wherever you go, anywhere in the world, the prancing horse flags are dominant in the grandstands, and they're out in force again today. It's Ferrari on the top step once more.
To see where we were in qualifying, I'm genuinely so chuffed with this result there. P4, P5, I could not have asked for more of a result really after getting knocked out in Q2, and this gives me a lot of good solace. It looks like our car has a lot more race pace for one, and also we can try some clever things on the strategy, you know, pull a bit of an Alonso and try some clever things maybe on the strategy to get ahead, and then also at the same time it can only go up from here. And you know, as I said at the very start of the episode, McLaren have done so many quality and efficiency updates on each department, engine, aero and chassis, that now the upgrades are going to come thick and fast hopefully once we start to earn some R&D points. Of course, that's the main thing. We start from 0 on R&D points, so we're going to have to try and, you know, recuperate that and get the points. But once we do have those points, the upgrades being a little bit cheaper here and there, the quality control is also great, so they won't fail. So yeah, we can only go rapidly up from here, I hope, just like McLaren did previously. But we're still P2 in the Constructors here, actually ahead of Red Bull due to Verstappen going down the order then in the end. I think he made an extra pit stop in the end, but there you go. Like I said, ironically, Ferrari are in the lead of that Constructors' Championship, so if it was to be like this for the entire season, I would not be guaranteed a Ferrari seat then in Season 4. And Haas, like I said, you know, they showed their true pace in the race there, but the fact they did 2 stops really killed their race pace and killed their entire race result there. So they have more to come, because on paper, they're still very much the fastest team, and you saw some glimpses of it today. So that's going to be exciting to see if we can make it into Q3 and we don't have the glitch, what the pace is going to be like for them as an AI team. But let's go into the questions then with Claire after that very first race here for our new team.
Good day today. Tell us about it from your perspective. Are you missing your old team?
So, good question. I'm going to say I miss the people, but I'm excited to be here in the new team. Of course, that's going to kind of keep everyone happy, really. The people are left at Haas, and also our new team at McLaren, of course. Keep the good vibes going.
You had a few bumps and scrapes today. Who would you say is at fault?
I think this was in regards with the move on Leclerc. I'm going to say I had the line, which I did on the outside. I had the momentum around there, a little bit of a bump, but not too bad.
Great. Well, that's everything.
And so that's going to be the questions over then with Claire, and that is going to be the towards the end of our very first episode then in Season 3 of the F1 2018 Career Mode with McLaren then, guys. So if you did enjoy the episode, smash that like button. I hope you guys enjoyed the little intro there. Those of you who watched my driver back in the day will recognise a few little graphics here and there. It was really nice to get a little bit, you know, fancy with the editing for once in a while in these vanilla career modes. So yeah, hit that like button if you did enjoy that as well, and let me know in the comments below what you thought of the episode, guys. If you are new around here, do get subscribed for weekly full-on content. And I hope you guys are really, those of you who maybe fell off a little bit with the Haas career mode at the end there, I saw that kind of the views dipping a little bit in the last 2 episodes. Hopefully you guys have been reinvigorated with this episode and with the McLaren vibe going on. And so before we go for the end of the episode, we need to work out what upgrade we're going to do. We have a finite amount of points, not too many, but we have some decent okay points. And so in the end, after debating in my head a little bit of what we're going to do, I'm going to go for a drag update, because it was very clear there from our car, although it's got a good engine power under it, I feel like our car does have a lot of drag and it's not as lightweight as it could be. So I'm going to focus on drag updates and also chassis weight reductions for the start of this season, because I really want the car to be as nimble as my Haas was, because that was one thing I was really missing around Melbourne. That's the thing I straight away felt throughout the entire race, of just how heavy it felt and how bulky it felt in a straight line as well. In terms of that drag, you can kind of tell that the engine was pushing very hard with rich mix and you know, ERS, but the drag I think was a bit too high, so we need to try and reduce that hopefully for next time out at Bahrain with that minor upgrade. But yeah, that's going to be then the actual end of the episode then, guys. So if you have enjoyed it, again, hit that like button. Hope you enjoyed the rest of your day, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.